So, hello, welcome once again to Pale Blends and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank
Who
you.
remembers the song Simon Says, based on the children's game? Well, my guest today is Frank Jeckell, singer and guitarist and original member of the band who recorded it, the 1910 Fruitgum Company. Simon Says was the band's biggest chart hit back in 1968. The band also had major hits with 1, 2, 3, Red Light, and Indian Giver. Fortunately or unfortunately for the band, being produced by Jerry Kasenetz and Jeffry Katz, aka Super K Productions, labeled them as Bubblegum Pop. Over a 2-year period from 1968 to 1969, the band released 5 albums. And of course, there have been several best ofs in various guises over the years. Hopefully today we can take a look at some of the album cuts that show a different side of 1910 Fruitgum Company that most of the public did not hear. Regarding my guest, for the past couple of years, he has been singing with a band called The Elegants, and he still performs with a revised 1910 Fruitgum Company. Well, welcome, Frank.
Welcome, Craig.
Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
Well, take us back to the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Nanticoke, Pennsylvania, which is a little suburb of Wilkes-Barre, which is a major town. It's Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area.
Yeah.
Nanticoke is famous because you remember a TV. Well, you're probably too young, but there was a TV program called The Rebel back in the early '60s, and the star of that program was a fellow by the name of Nick Adams, and Nick was from Nanticoke.
Okay. He was in a few war movies too, wasn't he?
He could have been. I'm not aware of that, but yeah.
I think so. I think I remember the actor. Yeah. Okay, that's going. All right. So he was from that area, that city. Um, Talk about some your fond childhood memories growing up there as it relates to music.
Well, didn't actually grow up there because at the time when I was born in the late '40s, '46 actually I was born. The area was mined out. It had been a huge mining community, but the mines ran out, and there was precious little work. So my father took the family to Linden, New Jersey, which is a suburb of Newark, New Jersey. So it's in Newark, not far from Newark Airport, and settled there to work at the General Motors plant, which was located in Linden, also making cars. So that was his entire career. He spent making cars. Musically speaking, we did spend a lot of time back at the old homestead. As a matter of fact, every weekend he would get out of work. He worked second shift on the General Motors. He would get out of work at around midnight or so, and we would hop in the car and drive back to Pennsylvania to stay with usually with his mother, my grandmother, and sometimes with my mom's mother. They lived in town, so we're not far from each other. And my dad's brothers and sisters were all country music and pop music fans of the day, and they played guitar and sang. So as a young toddler, I got exposed to live music, and I guess that's when I got bit by the bug.
Yeah, I was going to
say. Eventually, I took up guitar and started playing and singing. And I started playing and singing the music of that day. I learned actually how to play guitar off of a Johnny Cash album, one of his early albums. Learned all the songs off of there, learned all the chords, and was basically taught.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was just on YouTube yesterday, just kind of looking around, and I saw him singing Bonanza. The theme from Bonanza, and I guess I remember the theme, but I'd never heard the lyrics to it. And I thought, okay.
I wasn't aware that he sang that theme, but tying Johnny Cash back to the Rebel TV show we talked about before, Johnny Cash sang the theme to that.
Oh, okay.
Yuma was a rebel. He wandered around.
Have you hopefully some of our viewers will remember that. Well,
Well, especially if they're old like me.
well, so did you come from a musical family, would you say?
Well, I wouldn't call it professional music. I would call it amateurish. You know, no one really played professionally. Well, I take that back. My On my mother's side, my cousin Dan, who's about 5 years older than I, he did have a local band playing weddings and bars and stuff like that, and he was quite a good singer for a number of years. I aspired to do what he did, and finally I got to do it.
Yeah, you got to do it. Can you remember? It's probably a few years later. One of the first album or 45s that either you got or someone bought for you.
My dad brought home a crank up record player. We had a crank on the side. I don't know where he got it, but he brought it home, and I had like 2 or 3 78s that I played quite often on it. One was called Slowpoke by Pee Wee King, which
Okay.
you never heard of, and another one was Detour. I don't remember Detour. I don't remember who the artist was on that. And I tried to figure it out. I went on YouTube and played all the versions of Detour I could find, and came to the conclusion that I had found it, but wasn't really certain for sure. But Slowpoke, I remember that perfectly well. It was a wonderful song from the early 50s, and again by Pee Wee King, who wrote and sang the song. And the most amazing thing about that song is if you listen to the record even today, it is mixed perfectly back in the day when there was no such thing as mixing. So the engineer who set up that recording session knew exactly what he was doing, because he had the volume on all of the instruments exactly where they needed to be, the vocals exactly where they needed to be. And when you listen to it, you go, wow, what a great mix. And when you think about how it was done on the fly,
Right.
and there's solos in the center of the record. There's a solo on piano. There's a solo on accordion. There's a solo on violin, or fiddle they would call it. And every one of the solos is perfect. Solo on steel guitar too, and they all jammed into one verse. They all took like a little part of the verse. So you're gonna have to go listen to that record now after all this build.
Okay. You're right. I'm going to have to make a note of that and go listen to that.
Slowpoke by Pee Wee King.
Pee Wee King. Okay. Well, so that engineer was a bit ahead of his time there.
It was. I don't know who he was, but boy, they didn't really give credit to engineers on labels back in the day. So I don't really know who he was, but boy, he sure knew what he was doing.
Oh, wow. I wonder if he did some other work later on too.
I'm sure.
Well. So when did you first start playing guitar? Were you self-taught? Yeah.
Yes. When I was 8 years old, my dad said, Frankie, they used to call me, would you like to play a musical instrument? I said, yeah, Dad. I said, I want to play guitar just like my aunts and my uncle. And he goes, well, he says, I play accordion. Your grandfather played accordion, so I think you should play accordion. So I got shuffled off to accordion lessons. And after about almost a year of accordion lessons, the teacher said to my mother, who used to walk me up there because my dad wasn't around working nights, and said, well, ma'am, you're really wasting your money with the accordion lessons with Frankie here, because he's not interested. He's talented, he can do it, but he's not making any progress because he's just not interested. So they stopped the accordion lessons, and that was the end of my music training. Until finally, 6 years later, at the age of 14, my uncle, who played the guitar, came back from the army. He was stationed over in Germany, and brought a secondhand guitar that he had bought over there. And I managed to purchase that guitar from him for, I think, $25. And that was around September of 1960. And that's when I began to learn guitar.
Oh, all right. Well, let me ask you this. Go ahead.
Around December, I did so well on guitar that I convinced my father to get me a electric guitar, which they didn't have the money for that. So he borrowed borrowed money from my aunt to buy me an electric guitar because my aunt had extra money. And at that point, I started playing electric, and then my second training session was the Ventures album, first the Walk Don't Run album by the Ventures, and I learned every song how to play on that. So my entire guitar training comes from a Johnny Cash album and a Ventures album in the early days, and learned a lot off of those records.
Stop and start and turn it on again, play it, get a few chords and go back to the beginning and yeah, doing all that's interesting. Yeah, you had to do that. Well, let me ask you this: from being up in that end of the country in New Jersey, were you influenced at all by the street corner crooners, the doo-wop singers?
I didn't. I only knew about doo-wop from what little of it leaked through to pop radio.
Okay. Yeah.
So, in fact, I sing with the Elegants now with Vito Picone. Vito Picone, at the age of 16, wrote and sang Little Star in 1958. And I did, that was on the radio because it was a top hit. It made it to #1. And I remember being very enamored with that song. And to this very day, it's one of my favorite songs from the 50s. And to get to meet him later, which was about 10, 15 years ago now, he was emceeing a show that I went to with my partner from the Fruitgum Company. And we saw a bunch of acts from the 50s and 60s. And so I walked up to him because he was very approachable, very nice guy. And I was starstruck. I mean, I was tripping over my words because here was the guy that made this great song that was so important to me, as a young boy. And here I am meeting him, So we became friends. And then 3 years ago, he called me up and said, Frank, guy's leaving the band. How would you like to sing with the Elegants? I says, would I? No. So I'm in heaven every time I perform with the guy because I still think he's just awesome.
Yeah, you didn't have to ask you twice on that one. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it is wonderful how so many of them are approachable. We think they're keeping their distance or they're idols or whatever. We can't talk to them, but once you find out, most of them are, very genuine.
If it's in your bailiwick, you should do an interview with Vito.
I would like that.
You would enjoy him because he's got stories, unbelievable stories. I mean, about back in the day, about performing with Buddy Holly and the Everly Brothers and stuff like that. So he was there from the beginning.
That would be great if he'd be up to that. Yeah, after this interview, yeah, if you wouldn't mind sending me his email or maybe talk to him first or what have you. Yeah, that would be great.
Sure. I'm sure he'll be okay with it, but I definitely will get his contact information to you. I would warn you that he's the best way to reach him is email, but don't expect him to respond quickly. He has terrible phone habits. He's got a home phone and he's got a cell phone, but both of them can't accept messages because they're full. And he only talks to who he recognizes on the call list that comes up after you miss a call with him, Or if he happens to look at the phone and see it's someone that he wants to talk to. But he spends a lot of his time. He's homebound pretty much because he has some medical problems, which I won't go into. So it means he's nothing to do all day long except talk on the phone or do interviews like this. So he'll love it.
Okay, we'll warn him ahead of time, I guess, so he'll know my name when it pops up. Okay. Well, what was the first band that you were ever a part of?
I had a band. I guess we called ourselves the Ambitions. Okay. What a name, right? I was about 15. I'd been playing guitar for under a year. And I got together with a friend up the street who was just beginning to play guitar and a friend of ours who was a drummer, whose father was a Lutheran minister, of all things. And we eventually were playing, practicing and trying this, trying that, and trying the other thing. And eventually we put a song together which I wrote, and went over to New York City and spent like $25 to the Dick Charles studio to cut an acetate of it, which I still have. I don't think it plays anymore because it's one of those acetates where it was aluminum disc with a plastic coating on it that they made, and eventually that degraded over time. So
Yeah.
in fact, I wish it still played because I never recorded it, so I don't have any record of it. But that was my first band. You listen to it, it's not exactly the same as, but it's very reminiscent of the style of Wipeout. It plays the guitar and then the drums play like Wipeout does, where there's a piece then guitar, then drum piece, then guitar, goes back and forth. That's what it does. So, you know.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, we'll talk a little bit about what the music scene around you at that time was. Was it kind of up and coming? Or?
This would have been 1961, 62, and the music scene was whatever was on pop radio. So it was all the girl groups and whatever the hits were. I mean, if you were to have a list of the top 40 chart from the New York area from 1960, 61, 62, and were to quiz me, I wouldn't miss a single song. I knew every song, or if you played the first couple notes of a song, I'd be able to identify it. I mean, I wish I had such good mental acuity with being able to remember why I went into the kitchen today, as I do of these old songs. But I don't.
You just hit on. I've started to do that too. Go into the bathroom. I'm like, why did I?
Well, hopefully you know why you went in the bathroom.
Yeah, most of the time I do, oh, okay. But there'll be other times, or whatever room it is, and it's, why am I here? Okay. And I have to retrace my steps and, okay.
Right. The worst thing is I'll be standing in front of the refrigerator with the doors open and say, now, what was it I wanted to get out of here? No idea.
That's funny. Yeah, the mind after a while it starts to degrade a little bit.
The good news is they say that's a normal part of aging, and it's really not a indicator of Alzheimer's or anything like that. It's just a normal part of aging.
Yeah.
My glasses, so bad with my glasses. I take them off. I don't have them on now because I don't use them I don't have to use them for close up, which is odd. Most people have to wear reading glasses. I don't need reading glasses. I wear glasses to see far away.
Yeah.
So if I'm reading, so most of the time, if I'm looking at my phone, looking at email on my iPad or something, I don't need the glasses. Matter of fact, I find them hard to do that with the glasses. It bothers me. So I'll put the glasses down. So, and they could be anywhere in the house of like 5 or 6 different locations. And I can't tell you how many times I had to scour all those locations to figure out which one I left them at. Haven't lost them yet. Always found them.
You always found them. My wife and my son have the same. Is it nearsighted or farsighted? I can't remember.
I'm nearsighted, which means I can see up close, but I can't see far away.
Right. I'm farsighted. They're both nearsighted like you are, So like I'll put on my wife's glasses and it's like, whoa, that's much worse, But one time I have to tell this. I don't tell too many people because it's very embarrassing, but I was in the car driving, right? And I'm like looking in, while I'm driving with one arm, and I'm looking for my keys. It's like, where are my keys? Yeah, they're in the ignition.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and it finally dawned on me.
Well, they've made that particular problem. They've exacerbated that now with the newer cars, where you don't put the keys in the ignition anymore.
Right. Just
so
start button. Yeah.
Console. If you get out of the car, forget about them. Some of the cars will remind you that when you close the door, that the keys are in the car. They'll actually.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Right as you're closing it. Oh.
So I have a habit there. I never, when I go out to use my wife's car, or go with her anywhere, I'll take my set of her car keys and I'll just put them in my pocket, and that's where they stay. They never come out of my pocket. They don't need to, because once I get close to the car, I can operate it,
Right.
and if I get out of the car, they're with me, which is where they should.
Right. Safe and sound.
That works.
Well, when I even before I found out the name of your band prior to 1910, Fruitgum Company, I said that would be a great name for a band, and I'm referring to Jekyll and the Hyde. I said, okay, if you're the leader, you've got to go with Jekyll and the Hyde, and of course you.
I
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
I had my Jekyll Katz,
Yep.
and I'm gonna keep talking. I'm gonna look up something I want to show.
Sure.
I think I'll be able
Yeah.
to put it on the camera, and you'll be able to
Yeah,
see what.
visuals are always good. Yeah. Who While you're looking, can you tell who was in that band, and how did you guys get together?
Which band?
Jekyll and the Hyde.
There were. Let's see. I can actually show you a photo of the band.
Okay.
There were 4 of us in that band, and 3 of the 4 members ultimately, after the drummer left the band, ultimately went on to pick up 2 other guys and form the 1910 Fruitgum Company. So that was the genesis of the Fruitgum Company.
Okay.
Well, you could see that if at all, it's kind of washed out.
Now, which one is you? Is that you there in the middle?
That's me in the middle.
Okay.
On the left is Mark Gutkowski. He was the lead singer of the Fruitgum Company. He sang all.
Yes.
In the red shirt is Floyd Marcus. He was the drummer. I was the guitar player. The other guy with the glasses sitting down is Steve Markowitz. He was the bass player. And the guy next to me in the business suit, why he chose that particular way of doing things, but that was Pat Carwin. Pat was the guitar player of the band.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, like you said.
Of those guys, Mark, myself, and Steve.
Mm-hmm.
My phone just died. Phones do that, they just turn off whether you want it or not. Mark in the white shirt and Steve next to me, or in front of me in the glasses, and myself. We were the 3 guys that were in Jekyll and the Hydes.
Okay. All right. Well, what was your repertoire as Jekyll and the Hyde? What kind of music were you guys playing?
Mostly covers of the current music. That was 90% of what we did, and then we had some originals, because Floyd, the drummer, was a prolific songwriter. He wrote probably close to 1,000 songs in his time. And we ended up using quite a few of his songs on our first album. He has like 2 or 3 cuts on the Simon Says album. I have 1 cut on the Simon Says album that I wrote. Pat has 1 that he wrote. So we did get to do quite a bit of our original material, but it wasn't the songs necessarily that we would have selected, because Jeff Katz wanted the songs to be light and poppy,
Bubblegummy. Yeah. Well,
so people often ask me, where did the name 1910 Fruitgum Company come from?
there you go. That you're reading my mind. Yeah.
I'll ask you the question. I'll throw it out there before you ask. The fact of the matter is, the name was given to us when we signed the contract with Buddha Records. We signed it as the 1910 Fruitgum Company, and the name was provided by Jeff Katz. So he made it up or got it somewhere. I never found out exactly where it came from. And a little PR on the liner notes for the Simon Says album. There's a paragraph in there that says, "It was Frank, me, while searching for some retro clothing in an attic, found a gum wrapper in her jacket pocket, who came up with the name."
Right.
Okay. But the reality is right here.
It's not true. Okay.
Stop.
Yep.
Notice in the middle, there's a bar, a jackpot bar in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm going to zoom in on that because I want you to see pretty
Okay.
much what it says.
Says Bell Fruit Gum. Yeah.
Look above that. What does it say?
A little bit closer. It says copyright 1910.
Ooh,
1910. There
1910.
you go. There you go. 19.
What does it say?
Uh,
It
it
says
says
Mills Novelty Company.
Chicago. Yes.
So if you read from top to bottom, you can go 1910 Fruitgum Company.
Fruitgum Company.
It's all there.
Okay. There it is. There it is. Okay.
This slot machine dates to the late 40s.
Okay.
So I don't have proof positive, but I can't see any way how this is not just a coincidence. I really strongly believe that the name came from
From
these
that
slot
slot. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a good story anyway. I mean, whether it did or not, but I see what you're saying. I mean, it's too coincidental.
It's all there.
Yeah,
Well,
right,
1910
right,
Fruit Company. It's right there, on the.
right, right. Well, talking about the Simon Says album, of course, there's the, big poppy, title track, and I like Keep Your Thoughts on the Bright Side. That's one
That,
that I
that was that was written by Floyd.
okay. I like the horns. I like the horns in that. Yeah.
That was
Uh,
an attempt on Jeff's part. Jeff added that to the track. We were recording it, and he was trying to copy the feel of Penny Lane.
right, right. I get that. Yeah, it does have that Beatles type of sound to it.
That's why he
Yeah.
wanted that piccolo trumpet sound. He got a piccolo trumpet player to play that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
What's on which is what's on Penny Lane, a piccolo trumpet player.
Right, right. Wow. Another track off of there that I like is Happy Little Teardrops. I like the organ on that one.
That one was written by Elliot Shipwright. Elliot is the author of Simon Says. He wrote Simon Says, and he also wrote May I Take a Giant Step, which was our second release, which didn't do horrible. I mean, it almost broke top 40. So it was a respectable showing for the song, but it wasn't a hit.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't a hit. But probably my favorite on that album is Poor Old Mr. Jensen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was written by some other guy. I don't remember who wrote that one.
uh,
I always thought that was Morose myself, that song. It sounded like a funeral dirge, you know?
yeah, yeah. I guess that's just me. I tend to like those kind of the more mellow songs, and you might call it that, a little depressing, but totally the opposite end of the spectrum from Simon Says on that. But it did show that you had a little broader range.
The only song on the album that I sing and that I wrote was Magic Windmill.
Talk some about that song, about the background on that song, writing that song.
Magic Windmill?
Yeah.
My brother and I shared a bedroom. We never had any more than a 2-bedroom apartment. My parents had one room and we had the other. He was 6 years younger than me. And when we were still living in Newark, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey until I was 12. When I was 12, we moved to Linden. When my brother was a baby, a toddler, and I was maybe 7 or 8, and he was 1 or 2, my parents bought a set of furniture for us for our room. It included a chest of drawers and a bureau with a mirror on the back of it. And on this particular setup, it was pretty plain. It was right in the middle of the top drawer was a little plaque that was part of the front of the drawer. It was a plastic thing that was glued on, and it was a windmill.
Okay.
So after I started playing guitar, and that set came with us to Newark, to Linden when we moved when I was 12. And so when I was 15, 16, I started playing guitar, thinking about writing songs. I was sitting there one day and I noticed the windmill was right in front of me. And that inspired me to write the song, Magic Windmill.
That's where it came from. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting about inspiration and where it all comes from. Uh,
Sure.
in different times of the day, different periods in your life, all that good stuff. So,
Yeah.
I have I
Back,
have to.
looking back, I wish I had spent more time writing. 'Cause I have about maybe a handful of songs, less than 10, that I wrote back in the day, prior to 1968, when Fruitgum Company happened.
Mhm.
Um, and I think I've written one or two songs after that in the early 70s, and I haven't done anything since. And I kind of woulda, coulda, shoulda, regret that. You know what I mean? Or wish I
Yeah.
had spent more time at it. But I didn't. So that's life.
Well, maybe have you tried performing those with the new lineup or unearth,
Um,
you know?
not to any great degree. I
Okay.
have the current bass player in the Fruitgum Company, Glenn Lewis, is a lifelong friend. We met when I sat in with his band in 1965 in high school
Mhm.
to do a battle of the bands. They invited me to join them for a battle of the bands, which we ended up tying with another group for first place. So we did okay. Glenn and I have been performing as a duo since 1974. So we're fast approaching our 50th anniversary, and we're still doing it. As a matter of fact, we're on the 24th next Sunday. We're doing a party for um, some friends. They're throwing a party and they hired us to play. So we're still performing as the duo. We're bringing a keyboard player with us this time, so we'll have a trio. But Glenn and I have done some of the songs. Um, but as far as the Fruitgum Company band doing them, no, we haven't.
Okay, you haven't done that. Okay. Well, I have to tell you, your version of Simon Says was not the first version that I heard growing up. Do you remember the Royal Guardsmen with
Yes,
okay, with the Snoopy and the Snoopy versus the Red Baron, and that was
absolutely.
one of my first albums. That one and Snoopy for President, and that's the version I heard. That was the
That
first
was after
version.
us, though. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
after us.
exactly. Yes, yeah.
We
After
were the
and
first
I
ones recorded.
yeah, when you're young like that,
You don't
you
know.
think until you find out otherwise, that's the original version. You think that's the original.
I'm glad you brought that up because I have never knew that existed. And I've never heard it. So am
Uh-huh.
I. As you're going to take away going off to listen to Slowpoke by Pee Wee King and maybe even Magic Mill by yours truly.
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah.
go and look up Simon Says by the Royal Guardsmen.
Yes, do that. And I realized, like I said later on, that they did a bunch of covers, and I was the Snoopy for President album. I know that's because the Red Baron was more all themes about the Red Baron. The Snoopy for President, they did also Come On Down to My Boat Baby.
Oh, I love
That,
that song.
yes,
Everybody
yes, yes.
told
And
told you I can name these songs and written them down.
see, and they did. I was just going to look real quick because I know they did several from the song. Oh, okay. Bottle of wine,
Bottle of wine, fruit of the vine. When
right?
you let me get sober.
Yep.
I Jimmy Gilmer, who sings that, is a personal friend.
Okay, okay. And then they did the letter, "Cry Like a Baby."
Box
Uh,
tops.
yeah, and then Honey,
Bobby
uh, and then by the time I get to Phoenix.
Glenn
Yeah,
Campbell.
yeah. So yeah, go check out Snoopy for President. They're all on that. Yeah, and listen to your Simon Says for sure.
Definitely do want to
And
hear
see
that.
see how similar or different it is. You can
Let me tell you about let, let, let me tell you about Yummy 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 because it's kind of an interesting story.
okay.
For some reason which I don't know that I will ever understand. Um, Yummy Yummy Yummy. Whenever I meet someone for the first time in mixed company and someone who knows me well will say to them, yeah, this is Frank. He started the 1910 Fruitgum Company. And the reaction from the person that's meeting us for the first time is, oh yeah, yummy, yummy, yummy. Both know is not factual.
Right.
That was the Ohio Express.
Exactly.
So after hearing that enough times, and I mean, literally, I have to tell you, it's more than 50% of the people who meet me and the Fruitgum Company comes up think we did yummy, yummy, yummy.
Right.
So after hearing it that many times, and the fact is, you mentioned before that the Royal Guardsmen played a lot of covers.
Yeah.
Well, so did we. So when we were recording our 1, 2, 3 Red Light album, and to support the 1, 2, 3 Red Light singles, one of the songs that we put on there was Yummy, Yummy, Yummy. So there is a version of Yummy, Yummy, Yummy with Mark, our lead singer, singing the lead. And it sounds identical to the hit record. Why? Because it is the hit record. Because Jeff Katz and Jerry Kasenetz, they produced the Ohio Express. They created that record. So when it came time to put it on our album, why reinvent the wheel? Just use the track they have. So they used that track, and our guy is singing it. So it's no lie that we did Yummy, 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 only that's not the one on the radio. That's the one on our album cut. So we decided, since everybody thinks we did the song, to include it in our shows. So we open every show now with Yummy, Yummy, Yummy.
Okay.
And we don't, if anybody wants to think we did it, we don't correct them. You know, okay. It's fine.
Right. Sometimes it's just best to let them believe that, you know.
And I hope my friend Dean Castran from the Ohio Express doesn't see this interview, because he's going to say, Frank, what are you doing, Frank?
He's going to correct you. Yeah, really. Oh well. Well, we have to talk about the B side. Simon said,
Yes.
Reflections from the Looking Glass. I tend to like B sides of singles better than the A sides. I do. And a lot of times that's the one that the band likes. The band,
Well,
is pushing.
wouldn't be far off with that assessment. Let me
Yeah,
tell you the story.
right.
After we signed with Buddha in October of 1967, we got a call from Jeff, and he knew what our material was and the songs that we like to play, and he knew what style we were. Before he signed us, he came out to see us perform live, so he knew what kind of band we were. Yet, in his mind, he wanted us to be a bubblegum group, Right. But he didn't really make that well known to us before he signed us. Otherwise, we never would have signed, because we don't want to be who wants to play pop music and become a bubblegum group? I mean, I hate to say it, but it's not exactly the top echelon of styles out there for rock music. If you could even want to call it rock, it's more poppy than it is anything else. So he sent us this song, and I said, I want to record this song with you guys. This is a version I recorded with another group. I know it's a hit. I know this song is a hit record, but this version, he just doesn't have what it needs. It just doesn't have it. Can you guys take it and work it over and see if you could improve on it? And we said, sure, okay. We hadn't heard it yet. So we took it home, put it on a record player at a rehearsal, played it, and turned around and looked at each other. And the general consensus was, without exception, I was right there with everybody else. We're not playing this BS. This is trash. This is garbage. This is not what we signed up for. We're not doing this. Forget it. Tell them no, we're not playing it. So that was kind of the consensus for a few minutes.
A few minutes.
As the elder statesman of the group, because I was the old man, I was 21. Everybody else was 19 or 18. So I said, listen, guys, you're right. We don't want to play this. I don't want to play it. It's not a song that's in our bailiwick. It's not anything like we want to play. Don't really want to do it. But let's just appease the guy. Let's let's put a version out there. It's garbage song. It's not going to do anything anyway. It's just junk. It's just throwaway fluff. It's nothing going to happen. Let's just give them something. So we did what we were asked, and we don't cause trouble right out of the get go. So we started rehearsing it, and it didn't sound any better than than recording it because we were copying it. We were covering it basically. So I said, well, we have to improve it. And yeah, I guess so. I said, Steve, why don't you play the bass instead of the way the cover was? Why don't you play the bass like you're playing 96 Tears or Wooly Billy with the boom, 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 boom. Play the bass like that. And I said, Mark, why don't you play the keyboard parts like you're playing 96 Tears? Play it in that style. And let's see what that sounds like. So we did that, and it sounded better. So we took it back to Jeff in early December and played it for him. And he went, that's it. Come on, we're going to the studio. So he booked time at Allegro Studios in New York, and we went in and recorded it. And he said, since you guys did this for me, he says, and I know it's gonna work. It's gonna be a big song. Yeah, sure, Jeff. Yeah, sure, Jeff. You can have the flip side. It was the only magnanimous thing he ever did for us. Everything else was the other direction.
Okay.
So we came up with a song that Mark had written, Reflections from the Looking Glass, and I had helped with the lyrics, so I got part writer credit on it. And we recorded that, and that became the flip side of Simon Says. And when the record was sent out to radio stations to play, most inquisitive disc jockeys, they listened to both sides. A couple of stations started playing Reflections, and it was getting some interest. And Jeff had to call the radio station and say, stop playing it. We don't want it to kill the A side, So they did, unfortunately. And of course, the A side, as you well know, was Simon Says.
Yeah. Well, that's very unfortunate. Why wouldn't he want both songs to be, played?
That if they played the flip side, well, honestly, it was all about money.
Okay.
He wanted his friend Elliot, his good buddy from college, to make the money on the writing of Simon Says, and he wouldn't have if the hit. That's right.
Okay. Well, I guess I can see that.
They also wanted us to be a bubblegum group.
Yeah.
And Reflections would not have labeled us a bubblegum group.
It didn't fit. It didn't fit. It's a fine song. It's a really nice. Yeah, it is a really nice song.
I love it. It's my all-time favorite of everything we ever did. And we still perform it in our shows. We perform it in all of our shows.
Good for you. Good.
Even though Mark sang it on the record, interestingly enough, he sang it with the sanitized lyrics, which I sanitized the lyrics because Jeff wouldn't put it out with the original lyrics. He said, no, do that. So that's how I got part writer credit. They gave me 20% because I sanitized the lyrics, and that's how it got on the record. And look on YouTube and search for 1910 Fruitgum Company Reflections from the Looking Glass. You will find from about 2005 or so a version of Reflections with me singing it, because Mark never came back with the group. He didn't want to do it. He doesn't want to be in the current group, and because he was busy with other things, and with the original lyrics. Okay. So that version has the lyrics as they originally were, and you're gonna, when you listen to them, you're gonna go, and they wouldn't let them say that. What are they joking me? Because it really is nothing. It's nothing. What they made me take out and change is nothing.
Yeah.
So now you have another assignment. Now you got to go find that.
Okay, you're gonna watch that one too. So today people wouldn't even give it a second. Yeah, it would just fly through.
Not even it wouldn't even raise an eyebrow. Not even a bit.
Isn't that something about the times back then too? And frankly,
it shouldn't have raised an eyebrow then either, because there were songs out not long after that, like Three Dog Night, Black is Black, White is White, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Which covered similar themes that were no problem. So I guess we were just on the cusp of that happening.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm sure it was nice to get the success and popularity of having, a huge hit, but I imagine the band felt a little ambivalent towards the song, you
That's
know?
that's very I can't think of the word, generous.
Okay.
It's
Uh,
not, equivalent was not the word.
okay,
They
okay.
were, they were horrified and pleased at the same time. They were pleased because not everybody has a top 10 record that goes gold.
Yeah, yeah,
They were horrified because they were associated with a style of music that they thought was trash.
right, right.
Uh, and what really brought that home and really killed it for all of us was we were denigrated and looked down upon by our peers. Whenever we ran into another band, they would hardly talk to us. They thought we were just they actually thought we were a throwaway band that was put in place to, and a studio band created the record anyway. It wasn't really us. And also it's garbage. And why would we even want to go out and play it? Because who the hell wants to play that trash? And that attitude so hurt some of the band members, and me too, I'll admit. Okay, at the time, I was hurt by it as well, that they began to leave.
Yeah,
In March, right after the record went gold, a couple of weeks later, the bass player left. A couple of weeks after that, the drummer left. And now it's just three of us from the original band. In August, the other guitar player left, Pat left. That left just me and Mark. And we hadn't been paid royalties that were due us according to the contract. They were supposed to be paid in June. They hadn't paid us a penny. And they said, we'll get to it, we get to it. They blew us off. So me and the three original members that had left filed a lawsuit against Jeff Katz and Buddha Records to be paid royalties. So as soon as they got served that lawsuit in September of '68, they invited me to leave.
okay.
So
Oh,
I was,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
But there was a plus side to that. So Mark went on alone. Mark wouldn't side with the lawsuit. He didn't have nothing to do with it. He was the youngest member of the group. He was singing the leads on it, and his ego would not permit him to look at the money reality of it. So he went along with whatever Jeff and Jerry wanted to do. It took him a couple of years, but he eventually wised up to them, and he walked away too. But and I don't even know how much money he got, if any, because they just wanted all the money. They didn't want to give us a penny. They were that kind of people. That's how they were. So a couple of weeks go by after they threw me out, and I get a call from Premier Talent. I don't remember the name of the guy, the booking agency. Frank,
mm,
hey, how you doing? Um, the Fruitgum Company, they're since they let you go, they have not succeeded in replacing you with anybody who could do what you did. Because the fact was, not only was I the guitar player and lead singer on a lot of the stuff we did in our show, but I was also the road manager. I was also the caretaker. I woke them up. I got them on jobs. I kept the books. I paid everybody. I did everything
yeah, yeah.
because no one else wanted to step up to it. And I was, again, the elder statesman in the band. So they were having trouble replacing all of that function, and they weren't taking work. He says, so I got this work. He says, and they can't take it. And I know the other three guys left with you. Would the four of you guys be interested in going out and doing some shows? I said, well, as what? As the Fruitgum Company. I said, well, I guess so. I says, we're certainly four original members. There's no two ways about that. So we did. And we toured for a good part of a month and a half or so. And one of the things we did during that time period was we toured with the Beach Boys. We did a tour of the southern states. We played about seven shows over 10 days and rode with them on their bus and the whole 9 yards. So it was a wonderful experience. Of course, it all came crashing down at the end of November when Jeff had an injunction served on us to cease and desist because
Oh,
he owned, according to the contract, he owned the name and we didn't
right.
have any to use it, so we had to stop.
I wondered when that was going to happen. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
that was so as of December 1st, 68, I
mhm.
no longer had anything to do with the band. So I was not involved in the recording of Indian Giver because that
Okay.
came after that came in January of 69.
Okay. How about 1, 2, 3 red lights? You weren't on that one either, right?
No, that wasn't because of any particular reason other than, as a lot of groups, as we know now, looking at the Wrecking Crew and all this other stuff, there are a lot of bands out there that had hit records that they didn't play on, and we were
Yeah.
no exception. We were touring, and he needed to get a record out, so he had a house group that did his recordings for him. They created the track, and then when we came back off the road, they called in Mark to sing, and he sang the lead. So
Okay.
that was 1, 2, 3 red light.
Okay.
However, in early September, before they got served with the lawsuit, they needed to create an Italian version because apparently there was a lot of interest in our records in Italy. And
Okay.
in fact, Simon Says was #1 over there for 6 weeks in the fall of '68 in Italy, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So they had already created an Italian version of Simon Says, but they needed an Italian version of 1, 2, 3 red lights. So I went in with Mark to record it, and he recorded the lead okay, phonetically, you know what I mean? Not watching real Italian words, but he had phonetic words in front of him. So it sounds pretty good. And then we worked on trying to sing the backgrounds. Well, he was having an off day, and and we weren't harmonizing well, it just wasn't working. So I ended up harmonizing with myself. So if you listen
Okay.
to the Italian version of 1, 2, 3 red light in the
Uh-huh.
background vocals, you will hear Frank, Frank, and Frank.
You're triple tracked. Yeah. Yeah, I have heard that version. I have heard that version. And
That's that one. So I did sing on 1, 2, 3 red light. Just
a different version. Yeah, I like that version almost better than the English version of it too. I like that.
soltanto
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I like that. It has an international flavor to it. Well, speaking of playing live, you guys did play with Sly and the Family Stone.
Yes,
And then Balloon Farm, which I love their song Question of Temperature. I've always liked.
they were on that tour with us.
Yeah, yeah, I've always liked that track.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too. It's really cool. I should have been a bigger hit.
it should have. It should have. And I
I
think it
think
was
I think the reason it didn't get bigger is the record company didn't push it properly.
okay. Okay. Yeah, it was one of those that I picked up on a various artist compilation years ago. Yeah, from the psychedelic '60s or whatever it was, but it yeah, yeah.
It's not the question of love. It's not the question of time. It's not the question of love. No, 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 no. It's just a question of. It's just a question of. It's just a question of temperature.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, I always like that. Well, um, one of the well, this is probably this is a little later when you weren't with the band, but I just wanted to mention one of the A side singles that I do like is "When We Get Married." Um,
It's kind of funny because I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that recording.
okay,
It's a decent song. I
yeah,
love the song. It's a decent song, but I thought the version that they recorded was poorly done. Poorly done.
okay,
And
okay.
number of years ago, we just decided to try to bring it back to our shows because we do get asked for it every
Oh,
once in a while. Not often, not every
mhm.
show, but every once in a while we'll get somebody asked for When We Get Married. So I rearranged it and I made a new arrangement of it that I thought improved on it. I don't know if it's best and final that you could ever get, but I thought it was much better than the original. And we performed it for a while, but then we kind of stopped performing it because everybody else in the group did not share my interest in the song, and they weren't happy for doing it, so we dropped it. So we don't perform it any longer. But again, it's not a bad song.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't
No,
do well. Didn't do well on the charts.
Okay. The harmonizing in is well, and it sounds like a song that the Mamas and the Papas could have covered or done. You know, it's got
Perhaps.
yeah.
I
If
always
they had
thought what I did with it was I did a Phil Spector arrangement. I
oh oh I'd like to hear that. Yeah, with the wall of sound. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I did to it, and I put the harmonies in the background, like he put in his "Be My Baby" song, stuff like that. That's what I
Yes, yes. Oh, I love that. I love that stuff. Well, I wanted this is bizarre too. How I guess Kasenetz and Katz got their fill of the bubblegum stigma, and
I don't know about got their fill. I think
yeah,
it just died a
yeah,
natural death on its own.
yeah. When they,
So much of that stuff was going to be popular, and then it just
right,
wasn't. You
and I
know,
think they maybe saw the light when they hired all the new musicians to do that Hard Ride album. I
that
thought
wasn't
that
that wasn't them, by the way.
oh
That was
yeah
Mark.
oh
That
it
was
was
Mark.
oh,
Mark
okay
Mark was very, very interested in taking the band in a different direction, to get away from the bubblegum thing. And
okay
Mark put that hard ride group together. That
oh
was
it
right.
wasn't Kate
They basically, because Mark had been so useful to them in terms of creating all these hit records and making all this tons of money for them, which he did, you know what I mean?
yeah
They threw him a bone. They let him
yeah
do what he wanted to do on the Hard Ride album. So that's Hard Ride is just Mark's
yeah
head. That's
it was
totally.
whoa 180-degree turn completely off.
I don't personally like it. I
Yeah.
don't think the material on it is that good.
No, it's I don't either, to be honest with you. More progressive psychedelic rock kind of, but like you said, there's not really a lot that you want to go back and listen to again, you know.
No.
Yeah. Maybe he was getting some of his demons out.
Well,
Yeah,
I give him credit for making an effort. I mean,
right,
at
right.
least he gave it a shot, and he was able to get past them and get to put out something that was of his own doing. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, talk a little bit about what you did post 1910 Fruit Gum Company.
I went back before the Fruitgum Company. I had the garage band, of course, that became the Fruitgum Company, and I also was had gotten involved in doing weddings, working with a wedding band.
Okay.
So after I left the Fruitgum Company unceremoniously, I went back into the wedding band circuit, and eventually I teamed up with Glenn Lewis, my partner that I mentioned to you before, and we started doing duo gigs, playing clubs. So between the weddings and the clubs, that's what I did up until late 1999 when my phone rang. And, hi, Frank. You don't know me, but my name is Mick Bansueto, and I'm calling about the 1910 Fruitgum Company. You were an original member, right? Yeah, Mick, I was. I says, well, what about the Fruitgum Company? He's, well, I've taken notice that the band is defunct and there's nobody out there performing as the Fruitgum Company. I was wondering if you had any interest in maybe putting a band together and going out and doing Fruitgum Company shows again, because I think that there's a market for it. So I said, sure, why not? So we got a band together and brought Glenn in, my duo partner, as the bass player, and he's still with us. And we put the band together, and around 2002, I guess it was 2003, we started doing shows, and we've been active ever since. Hasn't been so good since COVID hit.
Yeah.
COVID took the wind out of everybody's sails, but we've had not a lot of success coming back. So this year we've only done 4 or 5 shows, and we don't have any the rest of the year. The next show we have is we're actually on a cruise in March. We're hired to be on can't think of the name of it. So I got it on my list up here. Flower Power Cruise.
Oh, okay, okay.
with a whole bunch of other acts. Those cruises, they get like 15, 20 name acts on them, so they're a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Heard of them. So we're going to be performing on the Flower Power Cruise in March.
Okay, okay. Well,
We have a couple of dates in April. We have April 19th and April 20th, where we're going to be in New Jersey at William Patterson College and the Strand Theater down in Lakewood on the 20th. That's our total book at this point.
okay, yeah. Okay.
But
Well,
as long as that continues to bear fruit and we can get shows,
keep doing that.
why not? Why not? I shouldn't keep doing it. You know, it's fun. It's always
That's right.
nice because the great thing about doing the shows is the thrill of standing up in front of a bunch of people that want to come hear you play.
That's
And
right.
there's nothing in life that can quite compare with that. It's a very unique experience that is a fun and thrilling thing to do every time I do it, and probably always will. Then it has the benefit of people coming up to you after the show saying, you know, that record was so important to me. Like I had one guy from me telling me that he got through his Vietnam tour, listened to the music of the day, and that Simon Says was very important to him keeping his mental state and good. You know, so I felt good about that. And other people, you know, we got married and your record, blah blah blah. You know, and so it's those are very nice things when they happen. And finally, a real big thrill for me is I've had an opportunity to meet the artists for all the other songs of the era that and become good friends with some of them. Like one of my good friends is Dennis Stefano. I don't know if you know Dennis. Dennis was the lead singer of the Buckinghams, and he sang all of their hits. So that's Dennis's voice on all the Buckingham records.
And he's still around too. Huh?
Oh yeah, very much so. Ron Dante is another good friend. Ron is
Archies, the Archies.
The Archies, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Archies. He was also the Cufflinks.
Right, right.
He sang the song
Tracy. That's right. That's right. What was their song? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Wow. And you know what? I have
become friendly with Bobby Wilson.
Okay.
It's an interesting story. Bobby's father was why can't I think of it? Who was the famous Wilson singer?
Oh yeah.
From the late 50s.
Wilson.
Here, I got the refrigerator door open and I can't remember why I opened it now. Here I am. Jackie Wilson.
Okay.
Bobby is Jackie's son, but the interesting and Bobby is older now. He's in his early 60s, and he didn't find out that Jackie Wilson was his father until maybe 10 years ago. He never it was one of those incidents, you know, where Jackie was involved with somebody and one moved on and never even knew he had a son. And it wasn't until DNA testing came about that he was able to find proof that he was Jackie's son. And he's a dynamite entertainer, very, very fun guy, very fun guy to be around. And he does an excellent show. If he's ever out your way, catch him, because Bobby is a great guy.
Bobby Wilson. Yeah, he must have known there was something in the genes there, you know, for him to be a performer.
No doubt.
Looks
a little bit like his father too.
Yeah. There you go.
Other guy I've become good friends with is Bobby Calso. From the Calsos.
I've heard of him.
Bobby is a wonderful, wonderful guy, good friend. And Jim Yester from the association, he sang "Along Comes Mary."
Yeah.
So you know, I don't want to continue name dropping, but I just want to let you know it's a thrill for me to know these people now. You know.
Well, again, like after this, any of those, you mentioned one earlier, you know, that you might. I mean, if you think they might be interested, yeah, I'm all gung ho. I'm all, you know, willing to do that. So, you know, with any of these guys, you know.
Yeah, I'm a little. I don't want to end up being, calling these guys just to do interviews with somebody else. You know what I mean? So I probably will defer on that request, but I will talk to Vito.
Okay.
Promise you that.
All right. Good. We'll see if that.
I talked to Bobby Calso because I'm going to probably see him sometime over the next 6 months. He's doing a show in New York City. I'm gonna try to go to the show in January, February, if I remember, and I will
Yeah.
out with him and see if I can get him on board, or maybe I'll give him a call. I know
Okay.
him well. I wouldn't mind asking him. So
Okay. Well, again, yeah, because otherwise you'd have to start charging me a percentage, right?
oh, not. There's absolutely there is a rate here.
Nothing,
Talk about that later.
nothing's free, right? That's good. That's good. I like that. Oh God, that's good, Frank. Well, talk a little bit about singing with the Elegants, and how often do you perform with them?
Actually, fairly often. We're not as busy this year as we were last year. Last year we did about 15, 18 shows. This year we're going to do about a dozen. And we have not one, but two cruises coming up. We're going to be on a cruise in late October called the Malt Shop Cruise.
Okay.
And we're going to be on a cruise in February called Cruise in the Caribbean with Rocky and his Rollers. Rocky is just one of those bands. Rocky and his Rollers is a band that somehow locked in with the cruise line to create these music cruises every year. He's been doing it for over 10 years. So it's one of those. They're just coming back. All these cruises are coming back now since the pandemic shut them all down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, a lot of artists, like you said, are starting to come out and play live again. That COVID really did shut
Yeah,
down.
years ago, early 2000s, we actually came into Dallas and drove to some little town in Texas and played a show in some guy's backyard. He won a contest that the radio station ran, and somehow the contest and the first prize was a personal concert with the 1910 Fruitgum Company.
Right.
Yeah. So we actually played on the edge of a pool. We're in front of us, and people were on the other side of the pool.
You didn't get splashed, did you? So, oh,
And another little story comes to mind. We were booked to play at an Indian run casino, Native American run casino up in Minnesota. It was called the Shooting Star Casino. And I remember when we were driving there that the nearest airport was over 100 miles away, and I don't remember where we landed, but we landed anyway. We had to drive north for about 100 miles, and it was dark.
that's
And
remote.
there's not much in Minnesota.
Right.
So we're driving down this 2-lane road, and it was completely solid dark. And every once in a while, a little light would come up in the distance. We would drive through a one-horse town with a gas station and a store and maybe one other building. That was the town. It was gone, right? Went through 3 or 4 of those. Finally, off in the distance, we could see these lights. They were more than just a one-horse town. They're bright. They got brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter until suddenly the whole sky was filled with light. And we pulled up to the entrance to the Shooting Star Casino. It was the biggest thing in the area. So we get in there and we meet up with the entertainment director, who happened to be a Native American Indian. And he was explaining to us that they hired us to come in and entertain their high rollers. This was a free concert for all the people that spent a lot of money, blew a lot of money actually at the casino, and they were giving them this show. And I said to him, well, I'm a little concerned about whether we should do one of our songs, if it's politically correct or not. He goes, oh, you mean Indian Giver? I said, yeah, that's the one I mean. He says, well, you damn well better play that. That's my favorite song by you guys. You never can tell,
You never can tell, That's funny. That's funny. Well, anything we're coming to a close here. Anything you'd like to add, or anything that we didn't talk about?
If people want to find out more about what we're doing, as I already said, it's not a lot, but if you want to keep in touch with our schedule And as time moves on, if you think that there's a chance you might see us, I would put a caveat with that and say 95% of our performances are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area. That's pretty much where, and Pennsylvania, that's where we play. Not that we wouldn't go. I mean, we've done a lot of shows in Ohio. We've toured Delaware. We did shows, so we will go other places, but we don't do it very, very often. Mostly because there's 5 of us, and the venues don't want to pay the travel and living expenses and pay us too to come in for a show, because frankly, we don't command that big an audience. We can't fill 1,000-seat theater. It's just, there's not that kind of demand for our music anymore. The people that want to hear it are dying off, frankly, to be honest with you. They're just not there anymore, or they don't want to go out to shows anymore because they're old, So anyway, back to my point, if you want to see where we are, what we're doing, you could go to our webpage, and it's 1910 Fruitgum Company, all one word, .com. 1910 Fruitgum Company, spelled out, .com. And if you want to see where the Elegants are performing, and again, we're in a similar situation. Most of our work is all in the metropolitan New York area, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. Our website is theelegance.net. So THEELEGANTS. It's all one word, theelegance.net. And that's my commercial. But I lied. The real website to find us is stillalive.com. No, that's not real. That's a fake.
That's fake. Okay, that last one. People will be looking for that. Like,
I never tested it. I say that, and I never really tested it to see if it works. I bet you somebody has it and it's out there. I don't know what's on it.
Yeah. that would be fun. That'd be fun to check that out. Well, Frank, I appreciate you doing this. It's been very enjoyable. You made me laugh. That's always a good sign. And you've had some good stories in there. That's what I think this is mostly about, those anecdotes and reliving some of those stories.
You mentioned Sly and the Family Stone. I should tell you a little story there.
Okay.
We were booked to do a 3-stop tour with them, and we were the headliners. Can you imagine the headlining for Sly and the Family Stone? Can you imagine?
No, I can't.
We couldn't either, and didn't know that in the beginning, because at the time we were doing this tour in the summer of '68. They only had one hit record, and it had just come out. Dance to the Music had just come out, so they weren't established yet, and people didn't know what they could do or what they were all about or anything, and neither did we. So the first night, after they played their set and we were about to go out, we looked at each other and we went, holy crap, we have to follow them? Oh my God. So we followed them the second night too, because that's what we were supposed to do. And for the third night, I said to Sly, Sly, you guys have a much more dynamic and act. Your act is just fabulous. He says, it just makes, and compared to ours, it puts ours to shame. And I'm sorry, but I'll be the first one to admit it. We don't have what you guys bring to the table. We just don't. Would you mind closing the show instead of us closing it? Because I think it would make more sense. He goes, no problem, Frank. No problem. We can do that. So during sound check, my amplifier blows up. Smoke comes out of it, and we didn't have any spare equipment. There was no such thing back in the day. We just couldn't afford it. Lucky we got to the job. Jobs half the time. We had a van we had bought, and we jammed us and the equipment in a van. We would drive down the road sleeping on top of the Hammond organ. It's crazy. So I says, I don't know what I'm going to do. So the bass player, and I'm sorry I don't remember his name because I really should give him credit here, says, no problem, Frank, man. You can use my amp for the show. So he let me use his bass amp to play guitar for the show, which was very nice of him to do that. He didn't have to do that. So
no, he didn't.
That was a nice thing. They were very nice people. They were very, very nice people to be around. I was happy to have met them and gotten to know them a little bit. I regret not forging a long-term relationship with some of them, but I didn't. I should have, but I didn't. You know,
Yeah.
you didn't think of those things, you know,
Yeah.
when you're in the middle of it.
No, no, no.
Same
Well,
thing with the Beach Boys. I didn't form any relationships, long-term relationships with any of them, and I should have.
yeah,
You know, Carl was especially really, really sweet guy.
yeah,
Carl was really, really, really nice. Dennis was a nut, but he was fun, etc. Um,
yeah.
Al was pretty standoffish. He basically just kept to himself. Bruce Johnston, he was nice too. I got nothing to say about him. But Mike Love, he was all about himself. You know, the stories you hear about Mike Love's ego are true.
Okay, okay. I have heard. Yeah, I have heard. Well,
We
you
were
know,
right. We were riding down the road. We were riding down the road from going from one show to the next on a 5 hour drive, and
Mhm.
on a bus, and that gets very old, and we're all lounging around, can't wait for it to be over. Just for the hell of it, I started singing a Beach Boys song,
Okay.
and they all joined in and sang harmony behind me.
Is that
So
right?
I got to sing a Beach Boys song with the Beach Boys backing me up. At the next rest stop, they put me off the bus, but you know,
Oh, wow, wow.
oh,
Yeah.
they did.
Okay. Oh, I fell for that one. Okay. I was like, that's mean. That's pretty cruel.
That's one of my stories I tell during shows. We do a Beach Boys
Oh,
song, a couple of
oh,
Beach Boys songs in our set, and
yeah.
I tell that story during our shows.
All right, Frank. I have really enjoyed it, and all the best to you.
Thank
And
you.
and
Pleasure talking to you. I feel we have a little bit of a connection, and it's a shame that we live so far apart.
yeah, I do too. I do too. You know, and that's what I enjoy about doing these is getting that connection, finding that connection. All righty. Well, again, um, all the best to you, and keep on keeping on, as they say, right?
I will,
And
Greg.
all right,
Take
and
care.
all right, you too.
Bye bye.
All right, bye bye, Frank.